Okay, so this is Plat Anna on Ilios, and I'm a little bit ill today, so forgive me if I sound a bit off. But instead of the usual thing, where we sort of pick out a few mistakes and a few concepts that are gonna help you if you improve, I'm gonna focus almost entirely on your sort of nade and sleep usage. Um, there is of course like other stuff I would like to talk about, but this is really the major thing holding you back at the moment, so I'm really gonna hammer on about this kit usage. Yeah, so first sleep here, Hammond, not that great. Uh, Obviously, he's already getting frozen, and you really should have been aware of it if you weren't. Um, but you also should have been thinking, like, whenever you have these, big beefy targets, you always want to be trying to sort of chain CC them if you can. Um, so you can let this mate freeze him. After he's unfrozen, you can sleep him. After he's woken up from the sleep, you're probably going to be able to freeze him again. And that entire time, you're going to be doing so much damage to him that he's probably going to die. Uh, yeah, so really sloppy sleep to just go for it straight away, and that is sort of like the theme for your sleeps mostly. Like as soon as you see this enemy on screen, you just go for it. The other thing as well is you just sort of leave them to it. Anna has this really big responsibility to put out damage and help finish off kills, and like at the very least you could have put in a few shots while you're backing up around here. Let's go back a little bit. Yeah, like at the very least, like put in a couple of shots, just before you go and group up with your team. So you carry on here, Hog gets booped off, unlucky. And you pull this nade here, not a great nade. Not a great nade for a few reasons. I mean, not just because like both these players are full HP, they don't need the healing, but also it's like you're not really understanding the way that Orisa plays and how she needs healing. A lot of the time she can actually be quite happy on sort of 200 300 HP. And this is because of the way that her shield works. She's only really going to take damage during that shield downtime, and as Anna, you should really be aware of when that downtime's coming in. Um, and you definitely don't need to be defensively nading her, at least not in this situation. You only really she only really needs that burst heal when she's getting sort of hard overwhelmed by like 2 3 people. You can nade her, pocket her, she can fortify, and she's going to be sort of almost invincible. But this is really not one of those situations. And again, this is the sort of theme with your nades. You're very happy to just sort of throw them out there. So this is definitely something you need to be thinking about a lot more. Yeah, and this first kit rotation just sort of sets the stage for the rest of the VOD. You're very happy just to throw these abilities out there without really waiting for a good situation. And we can see here, like, yeah, you rotate over to help Lucio. And imagine if you'd still had your nade in this situation, right? It's a bit blurry, but here we have Lucio, Anna, Reaper, and if you have a nade here, throw it in. You're gonna hit all these people for free. Anna's gonna die pretty fast. Lucio's gonna survive. You're gonna force Wraith out of Reaper, and you can probably kill him, immediately afterwards. So, like, I really hope you can sort of see how wasting these nades in quite early situations is really hurting you when you have really good opportunities. Just sort of 2 or 3 seconds later on. Yeah, so next sleep, again on a frozen target. Sleeping a frozen Mei isn't too bad if you think she's, about to unfreeze and go into ice block, but you've just seen her get frozen. You should know that you definitely at least have time to put a shot or two into her to see if you actually need to sleep her afterwards. It's again very sloppy just to, go for these sleeps as soon as you see someone on your screen. Okay, so just a quick non-kit thing. Anna has this really big responsibility to sort of control her own space as much as possible. It makes it a lot easier on her team, makes it a lot more difficult for the enemy team. And it's a really important skill for Anna's to have. And one of the big parts of doing that is having good camera management, looking around a lot, being really aware of where enemies are, sort of catching enemies going for those flanks as early as possible. It's going to make it a lot easier for you. And you have this sort of downtime as you walk past Cage here while you're reloading and your team doesn't need you. You can really sort of look all the way to the left here and just make sure that there isn't anyone in Cage and you're going to be comfortable in this position here. Very, very sort of sloppy not to go for this, and for Anna especially, whenever she has these reloads, you need to be looking around. You need to just be making sure that you're sort of secure and there's no one sneaking up on you. Yeah, so next fight here, you roll out main, you catch some poke. You should really just take this mega here. You sort of wiggle around for a bit here, pressing X and asking for healing. Pretty obvious that you're not comfortable, and as Anna, you sort of need to be full HP and comfortable to like, really walk out this doorway and start focusing on the fight. So definitely just take this mega here. But the first thing you do after you walk out is like nade the ground. I'm not really sure why. Uh, Maybe it was for that 40 healing that you needed. But again, similar to that first nade, this doesn't really get you anything, right? You know, no one on your team's tagged. You're not like countering pressure that the enemy team's putting on you. You know, you really need to try and slow down with these nades a bit more. It's almost like you just saw this big clump of teammates in front of you and just went for it. And immediately afterwards, you go for this sort of ambitious sleep on this Hammond. And unless you know exactly where he's coming from and who he's trying to land onto, it's much safer just to, wait for him to land and hit him afterwards. But you have to think as well, like, the sleep wasn't really necessary even if you had hit it. You know, he's not really threatening your team at the moment. And, if you'd thought a little bit more about the comp matchup, how your team is going to play into the enemy's team comp, you realize that the heroes you really need to worry about are going to be the May and the Reaper. You know, they're going to be the heroes that are going to be trying to sort of force past your Orisa. They're going to try and overwhelm her. Maybe they're going to try and go deep for you. And, saving your sleep for these targets is probably going to be what's going to, win these fights for your team. And we see here, like, not even a second later, this Reaper, jumps up behind you with Death Blossom. And, we can imagine if you still had your kit here, even if you're not that comfortable, doing these 180 sleeps, at the very least, you're going to, nade this target. You're going to heal yourself, keep yourself alive for a little bit longer. But most importantly, you're going to anti the Reaper, which means he's not going to get heals from his ult, and it's going to give your team a much, much better chance of, focusing him down and saving the fight. Yeah, so we probably could have talked about this VOD for hours, like we're only 2 minutes in at the moment. And I'm sorry it's a bit different to usual, but we do really have to focus on these nades and sleeps. Right now it's not even really about choosing the right targets for your kit. It's just about waiting that little bit longer and actually thinking about what these abilities are going to do when you hit them. I did skim through the rest of this VOD, and, really as soon as that kit's off cooldown, it's out. And it's quite difficult to give advice about improving that target selection for nades and sleeps when it doesn't even really seem to be something you're thinking about. I'm really sorry if this is coming across as quite harsh, but, please, just slow down that usage. And, before you send it out, think a little bit about what it's going to do. And once you're comfortable with that, maybe send in another VOD and, we can start talking about fine-tuning that decision-making.